Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Mastering Cybersecurity IT Controls Training. My name is Oluwatoyin, and I'll be anchoring the session for today. It's my pleasure to have professionals and aspiring professionals from different regions joining us today. This two-day training has been designed for individuals who are aspiring or already operate in the IT space, and we are looking to deepen your understanding of information technology, general controls, and how they strengthen enterprise security. Over the next 2 days, you will gain practical insights into control frameworks, governance structures, risk-based implementation models, and the critical elements that support secure and compliant IT environments. These sessions have been structured to give you real-world clarity and actionable guidance that you can apply immediately in your roles. Please ensure that your mic remains muted throughout the training so we can have a wonderful session and avoid distractions. If you need support at any point, kindly drop a message in the chat box and the team will attend to you. Thank you once again for joining, settle in, and prepare for a deep, enriching learning experience as we begin day one of this program. And without no further ado, it's my privilege to introduce the facilitator and instructor leading the two-day training on mastering cybersecurity IT control to us. His name is Ade Folorunsho. Ade Folorunsho, he is a globally recognized cybersecurity expert whose career spans more than 15 years across information security, governance, enterprise risk management, and even digital transformation, amongst others. His portfolio makes him, please hold on. Okay, if you can see my screen, please let me have a response or reaction from you in the chat box, and that is our instructor. He has contributed to national cybersecurity policy development and has served in key leadership roles within the global ISACA community. His professional certifications include CISA, CISM, and other security and several advanced Microsoft and cloud credentials, forming a strong, solid foundation for his authority on IT controls, risks, governance, and audit practices. Funshaw is known for his ability to translate security controls requirements into practical, business-aligned frameworks that strengthens organizational resilience. His expertise cuts across threats intelligence, enterprise control designs, compliance, risk digital transformation, and the governance systems that sustains secure IT operations. Funshaw currently serves as the Chief Operating Officer as Icon Gates Premium Trust Limited, a leading firm providing cybersecurity consulting, IT audit services, and digital transformation solutions. He is also a respected trainer and a mentor who has developed content and frameworks used in professional security education globally. We are honored to have him guide us through this training. Please join me in welcoming our instructor for this program, Ade Folorunsho, a leading authority in cybersecurity governance and IT control excellence. Welcome, Funshaw.
Thank you, my dear host. And quickly, can I get a feedback? Am I audible? Can you hear me as I go into the session? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I want to share screen now so we can get into the class. Okay. I've shared screen and another feedback. Can you see my screen? So we can get into it now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you, Aditula, for that feedback. Splendid evening to you all. I just want to believe that everyone on this call and in this session are actually on the PM side of the clock. But if you're still on the AM side of the clock, it's splendid morning to you. Welcome to class once again. I call it class. Sorry, I'm used to class. I'm a class person. So every time, don't mind me when I use class, that's my language. So quickly, I want to give us some tips or what I'll call some caveats. This training, IT controls with emphasis on IT general controls, it's going to expose you. Yes, I assure you that the training is an expose. If you think you know IT control, congratulations, you are a colleague. But I want to assure you that I'm going to take this training. If you know IT control, I'll bring it to you. I'll expand it much more than you know. That's one. And if you do not know what the concept IT control is, do not worry. You're in a safe place. I will try to demystify the concept of control from cybersecurity. A lot of people are very used to cybersecurity, information systems audit, or what we call IT audit. A lot of people are used to concepts like that, defense, offense, in the light of security, but not so much know about IT controls as one. And two, a number of people in the world of cybersecurity do not know IT controls. I take that again. A number of people, let me not say a lot of people, it doesn't look like I'm exaggerating. But if I say a lot of people, I'm also correct because I'm a practitioner in the field. Not so many cybersecurity experts know the concept of IT controls. So if you are a cybersecurity personnel and you're on this call, in this session, congratulations. I'm going to expose you to it and I'm going to separate security from IT control. Which is which and where do they align? So lastly, before we go into it, what we have today, this class, this training, the knowledge you're going to acquire from here, please note, and this is the caveat, please, it is not for you to go and start critiquing your system, your organization's system. I will teach you some things that you might not find where you work. Yes, take that from me. You might not find some of these controls where you work, and some are evident where you work. So you're like, oh, so you mean that is IT control? That's why I said it's going to be an expose. So if some of the controls here you do not find where you work and are meant to be, it is not for you to critique that environment, but for you to bring to the fore of security and control, to the fore of those who carry security and control responsibilities on their shoulders, to bring to their knowledge that, oh, sir, I can identify these gaps. I just had the training, and with that skill set, I'm able to identify these gaps. And I think it is necessary we put these things in place or these measures in place because these amount to our risk exposure. So we're going to be looking at three key concepts. Number one, IT controls. Number two, cybersecurity. Then number three, risk management. There is no way we will talk about controls outside risk management. There's no way we'll talk about controls without bringing cybersecurity into the picture. Lastly, cybersecurity is actually a subset of IT controls, although the name cybersecurity has become a household name and practice, or a household name associated with the practice of securing IT resources. So in other words, cybersecurity has overwhelmed the name IT controls. IT controls are as old as the digital world. When did cybersecurity come to be? I mean, the name cybersecurity. It was formerly known as web security. In fact, it all started with network security or data security, then information security, network security. Then as we went into the internet, we had web security. Then from there, we had internet security. And then it metamorphosed into the name cyber security. So the concept has been the practice of securing digital resources and the digital space has been since the inception of information technology. But now it is called cybersecurity. Maybe in the next 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years time or more, the name might evolve to become something else. More so, we got AI. Okay, so let's get into it. For the opting time, the program is christened IT Controls, emphasis on information technology general controls. Oh, you said general controls. It means there must be some other types of controls. If this is general, would we have specific, perhaps applied, perhaps tailored? Do not worry. We're going to see the other side of the coin of control or of the cube of control. So let's get into it. Please, when I say control, I have to be very specific. In this class, the word control, if I use it just in a singular form, I'm referring to IT controls. I hope you're getting me. Although control is not an IT construct, is an organizational construct. For instance, we got operational control, financial control, and other forms of control. But in this light, we are funneling that concept into IT operations. You get it? We're bringing the principles and practices of controls into information technology operations. I hope that is clear. So let's get into it. What we got today: foundations of cybersecurity, controls, and ITGC. Quickly, let's separate the two: information security from cybersecurity. I've given you, I just gave you a moment ago, how the name cybersecurity came to be. It's actually an evolution. We've had security before cybersecurity. And before cybersecurity became what it is today, we had information security. Even by extension, information security management system like from ISO and information security systems and all of that. Then let's look at these two concepts. Is information security the same thing or called InfoSec? I know you must have seen the word InfoSec a lot of times on the internet or in some write-ups. And a lot of times you've heard about cybersecurity. Okay, are they the same? Are they synonyms? No, they're not synonyms. Although in usage or in verbal sense, they are used interchangeably. You are in a class, a professional class, and we have to separate it. Now let's start with the concept of information security. How did it come to be? Let's go a bit out of information security into information system. A system primarily is an integration of different components Yes, different components that are integrated, that are functional and integrated together to actualize or achieve the same objective. For instance, your phone is a system. Your laptop is a system. Okay, your computer is a system. Oh, that CCTV camera or that CCTV closed circuit television installation in the house or in the office is a system. From the definition of a system is a whole. WHOLE is an integration, is a fusion of different components. Let me narrow it down to computer system for clarity. What makes the system or the components? What are the components in computer system? They're basically called IPOS: input, processing, output, and storage. One resource, just one resource, is known with that system. That system accepts just one resource and produces just one output. The only resource to that system, called the information computer system, is data. The only output is information. But you may want to tell me, but today we can use it to edit movies, pictures, and all of that. Well, that's in the line or in the light of entertainment. It means you can now apply computer system to other needs. Primarily, computer system has just one output, which is information. That technology has become so advanced that you can now apply to other needs. You get the picture. Before computer system, before being in the computer system being used to edit movie, of course we had movies. We had movies before computer system was adopted or has been adopted to edit movies. Okay, what about audio, music, songs? Before computer systems became a useful tool for editing raw sound, now process them into nice tunes. But because of the capability, because of the enhanced capability of the computer system, it can now be applied in other fields other than what it was designed for. But basically, the input, whatever, whether you call it sound, image, graphics, color, text, numbers, and all of that, they are all data. So computer only accepts data, and that's its only resource. Now, what stays within the computer is information, whether awaiting processing or it's been processed or it's stored there and all of that. The security of that technology, the resource within that technology, and all other components outside the IPOS that connects with it or that uses it is what we call information security. Like you will find on the screen, is a broader umbrella. It's the application of security systems to protect digital, physical, intellectual resources from unauthorized access. Let me put this in clear perspective, that information security is not just the protection of digital resources alone, but the environment where that digital resource is used, or what I choose to call the digital environment, and the entire components within that environment, including you and I. The entire security architecture put within that environment amounts to information security. What would you find within that environment? People, processes, technology, the organization and its structure, the use of policies, legal instrumentations, manpower training, physical security like man, trapdoor, even the perimeter wall, fence, and the walk-through gates. All of these are part of information security. The reason a bank would erect perimeter around its structure is not just because of the money in the bank. There are digital resources in the bank too. If they are taken away, the bank, it will amount to loss to that financial institution. So all those security paraphernalia or security infrastructure, both physical, logical, and administrative, that surrounds the physical structure of that institution is what we call information security. So information security is broad, but within it is cyber security. Cyber security is tailored to the technical infrastructure within the entire organization. What I'm saying in essence is, let's look at three basic things make up the technicality of, or the technical infrastructure of an organization. Number one, their data. Please note that data today is technology. Two, I wish I could expand that. I wish I could expand that. Data is now technology. It's not just a resource. It's a resource, but at the same time, it's a technology. It can be used. Okay. Okay, quickly, let me give you a tip. What do you have on the internet? Should you look at the internet? Just imagine the internet if you can. The internet is not a physical space. It exists logically and virtually. Okay. Now, if you look at the internet, if you are asked, is the internet a technology? You will say yes. Yes, you are correct. Or if you say it's an amalgamation or as a fusion of technologies, you are also correct. Now, if that is so, what constitutes the internet? You will say data, right? You are correct. Email, web contents, and so on and so forth. They are data. Please note that in this instance, data and information are used interchangeably, although they are uniquely different. But let's just leave it at that surface. I'm trying to go somewhere. I still don't want to take you out of where I'm leading you. Now, data makes up the internet. It's like water makes up the ocean. Do you get it? If you look at the ocean, if you're asked, oh, what makes up the ocean? You say water, because that's what is obvious. Before you now say, oh, there are plants, organisms inside the water, fish or fishes and the likes, other animals inside the water. But should you look at the ocean on the surface? Oh, you say it's water. The same thing, should you look at the internet? You say it's what? It's data. But when you are subscribing for internet connection, what does the service provider tell you? He will say you are what? You are subscribing for data. Well, let me leave that for another day. When they say you are subscribing for data, you're paying for data. Data today is not just a resource or not just an input or a raw material, but at the same time is technology. Hardware, software, they are both technology. So cybersecurity is the protection of these technologies, data, hardware, and software. The protection of this technology against attacks, primarily attacks from the internet. The word cyber has its roots from the word cyberspace. You will all agree with me that if you hear the word cyber, what comes to mind? The internet, right? Okay. But when you now hear the word cyber attack, what comes to mind? An attack from the cyberspace. Do you agree with me? So it means cybersecurity is the protection of technology, hardware, software, and data against attacks from the cyberspace. At that level, I am correct. And if you hold on to that, if that is your stance, you are also correct. But today, we now have attacks from the internet on systems not connected to the internet. Oh, what do you mean, Funsho? I'll explain. When cybersecurity, the name came to be, devices that were attacked were actually connected to the internet. Some years back, when you say cyber attack, you're talking about an attack on a device connected to the internet. But today, we have devices that are also exposed to attacks from the internet, though not connected to the internet. How will that happen? Oh, there has to be a supply chain. Do you get it? There has to be a chain. For instance, you connected to the internet, you downloaded a file that is infected with a malware. You copied that file into a flash drive and connected that flash drive to another system not connected to the internet. I hope you're getting the picture now. And then you open that file. Now, depending on what kind of malware it is, whether the worm, the Trojan, spyware, a virus, a whole lot of the ransomware, rootkits, and all of that, depending on the kind of infection. If the infection is designed to discharge its payload, I'm being technical now, when a malware infects your system, or we say it's carrying a payload, something sequel to a word sequel to, war, when a bomb is detonated. You say, oh, the bomb is carrying its payload. So the payload is what? Is detonated. It is the same manner that bombs are created and malware too are designed. So as you open that file, or just make copying that file, that infected file, into a system not connected to the internet, that system can be infected. If that system is infected, we call that a cyber attack. Yes, because the attack agent, or let me put, okay, you're the agent, the vector now, you got it from the internet. So the system is infected. The system being infected now, it's not infected because it's connected to the internet. It's infected because there is a supply chain. Sorry, there's something called supply chain attack, which is a bit more advanced than the way I just put it. But it means there is a link. There's a transmission, more like a logistic, like logistics, from the internet through a website into your laptop via the flash into the infected system. Do you get it? So there is a supply chain. So such an attack would be called cyber attack, though the infected system is not connected to the internet. Now, analogy of information security and cyber security. Let's think of a financial institution, a bank. In a bank, information security would include the overall security system, including, okay, let's say the overall security policy. Security policies that are administrative, security policies for physical infrastructure, security policies for digital implementations or digital resources, security policies for what? For manpower, like training or regular security training, security policies for internal controls and the likes. All of these amount to information security within a financial institution. So the information security might be addressing physical implementation, digital implementation, banking operations, and the users, both internal users, employees, and external users like you and I. If you are not working in a bank, even if you are, but you have a bank account, or you have an app to access that account remotely on your phone, you amount to people or users. So the users of that system are internal or external. So information security extends to you and I who are customers of the bank. But when we say cyber security, in this light, it is said to be specifically the team and technology protecting the institution's resources connected to the cyberspace. the banking platform. Today, we now have some banks platform or core banking application in the cloud. So it means banking operations cannot take place without the users of the system connecting to the cloud platform. ATM devices, POS devices, they are all connected to the internet. Or let me say, through the internet, they connect with the bank's backbone. And then the bank's servers. Today, some of our financial institutions servers, not just financial institutions, a number of institutions today now have their backbone on the internet as against on-prem, which is giving rise to what is called software-defined network, SDN. Okay, I'll move away from there. So let's go on and look at the concept of this, CIE triad, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. How does this apply in the light of IT controls? Let me quickly say this, that the objective of cybersecurity is CIE. The objectives or the core objective of risk management is CIE. The objective of data privacy implementation is CIE. The objective of IT governance too, one of its core objectives is CIE. One of the primary objectives of implementing compliance measures is what? A compliance system is CIE. So CIE is at the center of everything called protection or anything called assurance. I'm sorry, I'm not going to take you there. But then what we are mastering tonight, mind you, the name of the program is Mastering Cybersecurity with emphasis on IT controls. What you're mastering tonight is actually CIE. The C in CIE, please note that this is the crux of protection. This is the crux of security. This is the crux of assurance. What exactly is assurance? Because I mentioned it, so let me just give you a clue. Assurance can be described, not defined, because there is no singular definition for assurance. It is descriptive, but assurance in its concept, the concept is quite broad. But I'll say that assurance amounts to policies, procedures, practices, principles, measures, techniques, processes, operational activities, and much more that the organization implements, develops, or implements, or both, to ensure that it is delivering value. That means the organization has a system or its subsystems, like individual functions, or further by decomposition, subsystem within that subsystem. So, Funsho, what do you mean? For instance, ABC Limited is a system. The IT function or the IT operation is a function. Cybersecurity or security operations within that arm is a sub-function. So it means IT operations is a subsystem of the institution as a whole. Security operations or cybersecurity units, depending on the name it is called, is a subsystem of that subsystem. So in the light of system theory, we got system as a whole, more like Venn diagram in mathematics in set theory. Then we now have subsets. Sorry, I'm taking it to maths. We now have subsets, an interset of these sets, right? Then we now have sets within the sets, now called subsets. So it means within the institution, ABC Limited, which is now a system, because going by the definition of a system and integration of functional interrelated parts, we have subsystem. That process of churning out a subsystem out of a system is called decomposition, or, okay, let me just call it the right name, factorization. So we factorize a subsystem out of a system and can further factorize a subsystem out of an existing subsystem. I hope you can connect with that. Okay, now back to assurance. All of the measures techniques, and the various implementations developed and implemented by the organization to ensure that the institution as a whole or its individual parts are functioning to achieve a set or collection of objectives and will continue so. That is what we call assurance. So assurance is both now and the future. The now is that we are functioning effectively and actualizing objectives, and we have measures in place that we will continue to function into the far future. Accountants call that going concern. So if you're an accountant in the house, going concern, not as a concept, as a practice, is assurance. So one of the ways to implement or to guarantee assurance in an institution is by implementing controls. In fact, control is at the heart of assurance. And a major setback to assurance is called risk. Now, let's look at CIA, being the crux of assurance. The C in CIA is protection of access. Please keep that in mind. That's the keyword in the entire statement or definition of confidentiality. Access, the protection of access. Well, access to what? Access to our digital space, be it in the cloud or on-prem. Please, on-prem is on-premises. That's a tech buzzword. Or access to, you are now within an authorized user of our system. We can also implement confidentiality to define what you can access. For instance, I'm a customer of ABC Bank. You are a staff or a personnel of ABC Bank. We both cannot have equal access to resources, even if we can both have equal access to the digital space of that financial institution. So the measures we put in place to define access is what we call confidentiality. We are ensuring there is confidentiality in place. Now, you can see from the example in banking, protecting customer account number, balances, transaction history, and PIN from an unauthorized access, so that only that customer can access his bank details, can generate his bank account statements. That's what? Confidentiality. Otherwise, if every other person has access to such details, it will be abused, to be wrongly used, and may be used for ulterior purpose. So the protection of access to either a digital space, or now you have access to the digital space, but protection to digital resources within that digital space. So even if you're authorized to gain access, but you're not authorized to access that resource, you are authorized to access the space, but you're not authorized to access that resource. In clear sense, every employee within the institution might be authorized to have access to the digital space, to use maybe internet, so on and so forth. But access to the database would be restricted. That's confidentiality at work. Tools to implement confidentiality or protect the confidentiality of resources includes encryption. When you encrypt data, the algorithm behind that process transforms that data from plain text, readable form, to ciphertext, unreadable form. So you would need a key called the decryption key to reverse that process from ciphertext to plain text. If you do not have that key, I'm sorry, you can't access that data or information. That is what we call confidentiality. Implementing multi-factor authentication. So if someone is trying to hijack your account from you, compromise your account or your system, and is trying to, okay, there is the word hijack your account from you, and you have multi-factor authentication in place, in the course of initiating the change of password, the system would request for either of maybe a token or answer some questions and all of that. But what is popularly used today is OTP, one-time password. So on one-time PIN, just 6-digit number or 4. Yeah, refer to your email or to your SMS and punch in the number. And if that attacker doesn't have that, that attempt will be forwarded, right? That is confidentiality at work. Implementing IAM, identity and access management, is another way to protect or to enforce confidentiality. What this means in its simplest form is the creation of user credentials. IAM, at the heart of IAM is user credentialing. So if you do not have an account to that server, if you do not have an account to that email, if you do not have an account to that website, or on the website as an authorized user, you can't go further, maybe beyond that particular web page. As you intend to move further, to ask you to log in. So that is one of the implementations or a common implementation of confidentiality. Integrity is the protection of digital resources against unauthorized modification. But please, before I go there, any measure you put in place to ensure that data is intact, data is accurate, complete, whole, exact, verifiable, is what we call integrity. The moment data loses any of these attributes, we say is being modified. I take it again. Please get the picture of integrity. The security measure you put in place to ensure that data remain in its whole state without losing its accuracy, without losing its completeness, without losing its verity, without losing its authenticity. Such security measure you put in place to guarantee these attributes I mentioned is what we call integrity. Data is said to lose its integrity when it is modified without authorization. And such modification can be internal, which might be an act of sabotage or willful alteration for the attacker's benefits. And it might be from outside, external attack. For instance, you would find in the example, guaranteeing that funds transfer instruction of $1,000 is not maliciously altered to $10,000 by just adding a 0. Oh, can that happen? Yes. A man in the middle attack can do that. Let me tell you this quickly, that in transaction processing system, most of the attacks within that environment is MITM, man in the middle. Sorry, we're not looking at cyber threats today. Man in the middle is a family of attacks. Man in the middle is not just an attack, is a conglomerate of attacks within it. That is why whenever there's a man in the middle attack, or you're assessing a case of fraud or an event that's, okay, there was a compromise due to man in the middle. If you are carrying out a risk assessment, you must look beyond the obvious. I hope that is clear. Those who are into that will understand what I'm saying. Then common controls to protect integrity of digital resources are what? Cryptographic hash function. Okay, don't mind me. I still signed a document, I think 2 days or 3 days ago, using my digital signature. So you can create a digital signature. If that document, for instance, like PDF, if there's a field in a PDF form that supports digital signature, then you can. If you have one created, you can use any of our popular PDF readers to create a digital signature. But then you can also use what is called message digest or SHA. I hope I'm not getting this thing twisted. MD5 being a popular algorithm, or SHA 256. These are algorithms. Please, these algorithms are mathematical in nature. So what it simply means is that, please note, encryption is the use of mathematics to secure data. Everything encryption is maths. These maths are not actually simple maths. They are advanced maths. In the same vein, cryptographic hash function uses some mathematical formula to get it done. So I'll keep that that point. And let me move on to availability. Availability is in the light of usage. Please note that. No, you must first gain access before you can use, right? It means if an individual can use a resource is not authorized to use, the confidentiality of that resource has been compromised and its availability as well. Do you get it? So it means to be able to use, access must be established. So the crux in availability is usage, not necessarily access. Protecting a resource against unauthorized usage is to ensure it is available to those who are authorized to use it. Or protecting a resource by ensuring that it is always available is also enforcing availability. Like in banking, ensuring online banking portals, ATMs, and payment processing systems. Let's put it this way. Why do banks have multiple channels? USSD, mobile apps, ATM, POS, web. Why do they have all of these channels? Some banks have up to 8, if not more channels. It means you can carry out transactions across any of these channels with the same instruments. Perhaps for those that support card, or maybe some don't even have it. I mean, you can still do transactions without cards, without using card, like on ATM machines. Even at some POS machines today, with QR code, you don't need card. And with the advent of contactless, is it contactless banking or contactless whatever? It has a name they call it. Sorry, I'm not into banking, but I know there's this contactless, is it contactless banking or so they call it? These are channels available to you. As a customer of a bank, you have a minimum of 3, 4, 5 channels to your account to initiate transactions. Why do we have these multiple channels? Because of availability. So that if a channel is down, another will be available for use. Do you get that? Okay, why would banks say inscribe on their ATM machine 247? They are assuring you of its availability. That yes, this machine will be available for use 247. Common controls will be failover system, like having 2 or more servers. Sometimes like having a server farm or server clustering, application clustering. All of these are measures to guarantee availability. And they are control measures, please note that. Implementing disaster recovery, developing or having a disaster recovery plan, business continuity plan, or incident response plan, or having backups. All of these are availability at work. IT governance and risk management. Do they have a semblance or do they have a place in IT control? Yes. Please note that one of the responsibilities of governance, of the echelons in the business place, is to ensure resources are secured, resources are protected. We haven't gotten into IT controls yet. I'm establishing a premise or just developing a body of knowledge. Can you give me a thumbs up or a feedback if I'm still audible? We haven't gotten into control yet. No, I'm just building a body of knowledge. Can I get a thumbs up or 2 as feedback if you can still hear me? If I'm still audible at your end. Thank you. I found one. Thank you, Barakat. Okay, so now governance, at the heart of governance, is to ensure that corporate resources are secured. One of the ways to secure corporate resources is by implementing controls. So this is the reason why we have governance on this slide. Governance or IT governance, please note that at the heart of it, governance, is called corporate governance. But as institutions expand over time, governance practices, governance implementations are being narrowed or funneled into functional areas of the institution. For instance, We now have governance, the finance function, governance in the legal function, governance in the IT function, governance in the marketing function. I hope that is clear. Governance in the risk management function, governance in the internal audit function, so on and so forth. So we want to look at IT governance, governance in the light of IT operations. It is put here that is a subset of corporate governance. But please note, what exactly is governance? Governance is a system by which an organization is directed and controlled in its simplest form. Hey, you mean governance is a system? Yes. Governance is not a thing. It's a fusion of so many oversight responsibilities, a fusion of so many capabilities, right? The entire fusion, the entire components are gearing towards what? Ensuring the organization has overall direction and control. So in the light of IT, governance here is the structure of relationships, processes, and mechanisms used by leadership, the board, the echelon, to do what now? Direct and control the IT infrastructure, the IT system or subsystem of the organization in order to actualize the overall objective of the institution. Let me put it in a simple form. That IT governance is a system that is an oversight system over the IT function to ensure that the objectives of the IT function align strategically with the overall objective of the institution. I hope that is not complex, and I hope that is not I hope that's simple, actually. I said I was going to put it in simple form. Let me take it again. Governance is an oversight function. In an organization, oversight is key. Without oversight, there will be chaos, right? Oversight, example of oversight, that there's oversight. You find planning. There'll be planning, control, coordination, harmonization, leadership, and so on and so forth, right? Okay. Now, oversight is, in a simple form, a coin. On one side of the coin is governance. On the flip side of the coin is management. Management is the oversight function of the day-to-day activities of the enterprise. Governance, on the flip side, is what? Is providing oversight over the entire enterprise. You get it? So governance normally is not an everyday function. It's not an operational thing. But because of the way institutions have evolved, most especially, let's go back to the case of Anderson and Enron, the collapse, 2002, if I'm not mistaken, in the United States. That collapse that led to a global meltdown, just from the US alone. That collapse that led to a global meltdown eventually gave rise to certain laws like Sarbanes-Oxley's Act and some other laws in some other climes, right? Where was due to what? Corporate governance failure. So as a way of responding to that incident came some standards and framework, one of which is called GROC. So what is called GROC today actually took his name after that collapse. Otherwise, they were individual capabilities. Governance was a capability, risk was a capability, compliance was. But it was after that incident that some bright minds came together and formed an organization called Open Compliance and Ethics Group and gave us, for the first time, a unified, integrated whole called GRC and supported it with what is called the Red Book. Okay, that's by the way, you may want to go and read more about it. The current edition of that book is 3.0 version. Okay, now governance in the light of tech is to ensure that tech is operating effectively, resources are used efficiently to actualize the tech objective in line with the overall objective of the organization. Some frameworks, like I did mention, that after that collapse in the early 2000s, there were emergence of laws and regulations from government and non-governmental agencies to ensure that we do not have a repeat of such. And most of them were governance oriented. One of such is the ISO IEC 38500, and that's the IT governance standard from ISO. And then we got COBIT, Control Objective for Information and Related Technology. Please take this, that though COBIT has been before then, but after that incident, we had COBIT 5, then a revamped form, and then we had COBIT. After COBIT 5, we're giving COBIT 19. Sorry, if you're an ISACA member, or if you understand governance framework, then the concept of COBIT will not be new to you. You might not know ISO 38500 exists, but at least I'm sure you will know COBIT exists if you're in that field. So for COBIT, is a prescriptive framework. For ISO, it's a descriptive standard on IT governance. I hope that is clear. So let's look at risk quickly. Risk is an event. It's an event with an undesirable outcome. Risk is not a thing and will never be a thing. It's an occurrence. It's a happening, something that happens. But when it does, its impact is adverse. That is what we call risk. In other parlance, it is called a problem or an incident. But whatever the name is called, it is an event with an undesirable outcome. So there is an oversight function to address that uncertainty. That oversight function is what we call risk management. It is a systematic process of identifying, analyzing, evaluating, and treating risk, that is, that negative event, responding to it, what? To protect our information resource and an IT environment. Yes, risk is in the light of protection too. But the way it does its own is to identify what may threaten the safety of our resources, which we call threats, and identify the loopholes, the gaps, the exposures within our resources that can be exploited by those negative potentials called threats that would lead to a loss. That's what we call risk. So typically in risk, sorry, this is not a risk management class, but I just quickly have to mention this, that in that event called risk, there are 5 key elements: assets, vulnerability. Every asset has a known or unknown vulnerability. So the onus is on you as a risk officer or as a risk practitioner to identify vulnerabilities. Why others cannot? Because you are one, you should identify, or if you do not have that skill set, go acquire it. How to identify? That what we call key risk indicators, or what we just call pointers, red flags. They can point at risk, a possible event that may occur. So outside vulnerabilities, which is internal to resources or assets, we got threats. Threats used to be external. Now we have internal threats called insider threats. These are negative potentials that can exploit the exposures or vulnerabilities or weaknesses of a resource. Then the likelihood, the probability, the tendency that risk can occur is what we call probability or likelihood. Should it occur, there will be consequence, which we call impact. So for the opting time, assets, vulnerability, threats, likelihood, and impact are the 5 key elements you would find in risk. Please note this. If you are conducting risk assessment, except if that risk assessment is specific, if you are carrying out risk assessment generally, in your reports, these 5 elements must be expressed. All that is clear, except you are doing threat hunting or intelligence specifically, or you're doing vulnerability assessment, vuln assess, or you're doing what? You're just trying to determine likelihoods, or you're carrying out BIA or impact assessments, as the case might be, except you're doing just that within the scope of risk management. Other than that, if you are carrying out risk assessment, generally, these 5 elements should be expressed or shown in your findings. Now, we got frameworks that specify how risk can be managed. We got the NIST, NIST RMF, Risk Management Framework in the United States. Then we got the ISO 31000. Is a standard. NIST is prescriptive. ISO is descriptive. So for NIST, compliance is required. For ISO, conformance is required. Then in the light of cybersecurity or cyber risk, in the light of information risk, risk associated with what? With technology, we got ISO 27005, a subset of ISO 27000. Please, can I say this quickly? And ISO 27000, if you know that standard, is an umbrella of standards. Yes, it's got 5 major kits and so many grandkids. It's got ISO 27K1, 27001, that's 27K1, 27K2, 27K3, 27K4, then 27K5. They are the 5 kids in the family. Then within it, we got 27 this, 27 that. I hope you are getting me, right? Okay. So we got 27005 just as we have 27701 for data privacy. Okay, let's move on. Then the crucial link between governance and risk is that governance sets the why and rules of the game for the entire institution or a subset of the institution. Like, okay, in the light of tech, there will be strategies, policies, and accountabilities, but risk will provide the how, the ongoing process to identify and handle threats. Governance says this is what we intend to achieve. Risk says, oh, these are measures or likelihood of negative instances that can halt or hinder that actualization. Do you get that? Take it again. Governance sets the tone, the direction. Governance says that's where we are heading, and this is the route we are taking. Risk says that route, there are some negative potentials lurking around in that route. So if you're not careful, they might halt the journey to that destination. So risk doesn't stop at that. The risk management, we now tell you what to do, measures to put in place so you can walk that route and get to the desired destination. I hope that is clear. So now, welcome to IT controls. For the opt-in time, am I still audible at your end? Can I get a thumbs up? I hope I've been able to establish the premise well enough. I hope I've been able to build the body of knowledge well enough. This will lead us. Can I get a thumbs up or two quickly? The feedback? Thank you. So that means we are good to go. Thank you, Maxwell. Okay, let's look at IT control. Quickly, let's look at the word control before funneling it into IT. Thank you for that feedback. Okay, thank you. I'm getting plenty. Abiola, thank you. Miriam, thank you. Quickly, let's look at control alone before taking it into IT operations. Yes, before taking control into IT. David, thank you. Control amounts to techniques or measures that now let's assume it. Let's personalize it. Let's assume it, right? Yes, as though we're the one implementing controls so that we can relate well with it. Controls are techniques or measures we put in place to ensure that our objectives, to ensure the following. Please note for clarity. Controls are measures or techniques or modalities we put in place. In place in what sense? Operationally. We put into our system, into our processes to ensure that one, please, this is the hallmark of control, that one, objectives are actualized. That's the first hallmark of control. Then two, risk identified. 3, remedial measures are implemented. I take it again. Please keep these 3 in mind. Don't forget. not just for IT controls. Look, please put these three. I'll take it again. Control, whether in singular form or in plural, are techniques or measures we put in place into our system or subsystem, our processes, into our transaction processing system, into our communication system, into our manufacturing system, into our production system, into that storage system. Those measures we put in place to ensure that one, objectives that are set are actualized. That's the primary reason for putting control in place. That one, objectives are actualized. Then two, that risk are identified on time. Then three, that measures are put in place to address uncertainty. Do you get it? So control is a tripartite. It is not one-sided. That just actualize, go and actualize objective. Now I told you at the beginning of this class, it's an expose, right? So welcome once again into IT control. So in the light of IT controls, or we call it security controls, please, whatever the name, whether you call it IT controls, cybersecurity controls, or you call it IT security controls, we are saying one and same thing. They are tools, techniques, measures, policies, processes, procedures that we implement to manage risk, actualize objective. What are the objective? CIA. The CIA of our what? Of our assets. CIA are objectives. I hope you know that. They are security objectives. So we put controls in place in any sense, except that control is specific. Please note, so that I don't mix it up for you. We got controls centric on risk alone. They are responses to risk. We got controls put in place to actualize objectives alone. Do you get it? They are centric. But on a general note, controls or control, either in singular or plural form, is a tripartite. One, to actualize a given or set objective. In other words, please note this. Professional colleagues choose to address you that way. If you must put control in place, first thing first, you must identify the objective or set of objectives for which that control is to be introduced or implemented. I take it again. If you're going to introduce control measures, those control measures or that particular control measure, you must align it with a given objective or set of objectives. Whenever control is introduced without any objective in sight, that control will either reveal a vulnerability or amount to a threat. Because control is actually meant to address vulnerability in the light of risk, address threats in the light of risk. You remember, I said there are 5 elements in risk: assets, vulnerability, threats, likelihood, and impact, right? Now, if you bring in controls, the control should be aligned with an objective or as a measure to address vulnerability or threats, or as a measure to address, do you get it, an event or the system that has suffered an attack. What do you mean, Funshaw? Explain. Let's be practical. Let me bring it closer. You have your server room or data center secured against unauthorized personnel. If you are not a member of that function or that unit of that office, you can access the operating room or the control room or the server room or the data center or the network operating center. I hope you get what I'm saying. Let's just put it in one word: control center. That digital control unit or center. You can't access it if you are not a member of staff. That means control is put in place to protect the resources there from an unauthorized person gaining access and then messing it up for us, right? That's why you have man-trap doors, or you got cipher door locks, smart door locks, and the likes. Hope you're getting me. And that's why you have likes of what? Surveillance systems to protect against unauthorized. So only authorized personnel with their due credentials can gain access. Okay, that's one. The other is what? To identify risk, or even do what? Address it. But then let's say control measures that can identify risk before they occur. We are going to get there. They are called preventive controls. Controls that can identify risk ahead of time and stop them from occurring. E.g., antivirus. You got an endpoint security system on your network, on your device, that can identify a malware creeping its way into your system and stop it from entering and later getting what? Infecting your data or your software, right? Yes, now that measure, that control measure is being able to identify that threat before the threat finds its way successfully into our environment. Then we have control measures that are called corrective, like BCP, business continuity plan, or disaster recovery plan. For disaster recovery plan or incident response plan, the incident is happening or has already occurred. We want to recover from it. That also is a control system or a control implementation. I hope that is clear. So it means, now look at the heart of control is CIA, mostly IT controls, to ensure that the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of digital resources are implemented. Please note that beyond CIA, we have CIA is called core security objectives. Then we have what is called operational security measures or objectives. I used to call them, I fondly call them 5 A's, N, and P. The 5 A's are authentication, authorization, audit, accountability, authenticity, that's 5. Then N, non-repudiation, then 6, permissions. These are control measures that are operationalized. That's why we call them operational objectives or operational control measures. CIA is core. Do you get it? Okay, let's move on. The primary purpose of IT controls or security controls is to reduce the likelihood of threats exploiting our system, and also reduce the impact should threats eventually exploit the system. And what is threat exploiting? The vulnerability of the system. I said earlier that control should and must align to a given objective. Otherwise, it exposes our vulnerability or become a threat. Yes, control can become a threat, an insider threat, or it exposes our vulnerability. Do you get that? So when control measures are developed by you, should you be or a leader where you work, please look again with the lens of control to identify the objectives it is meant to actualize. Let's look at these control types. Preventive controls, they act before a risk event will occur. Detective control will act during or after the events. It will detect or can even prompt a response so that the risk does not occur. Then corrective is always after. So let's quickly look at these 3. For preventive control, it aims to stop the event called risk from occurring, from materializing, from crystallizing. E.g., like the case of the digital control center I mentioned, you put a crypto door lock there, or a biometric control door lock, door lock, or you put a smart card control door lock. I hope you are getting me. All of these physical door locks you have there are what? Preventive control. So the man who doesn't have the right credentials or the right to cannot access it. The use of what? User credentials, username and password in a digital sense or in a logical sense. If a visitor to the system doesn't have credentials, known credentials to the system, he can't log in. So by implementing MFA, multi-factor authentication involves primarily three: what you know, what you have, and who you are. What you know is as simple as or as basic as username and password. They are all called credentials, the three. And what you know, once again, username and password in that sense, or PIN, or pre-shared key and all of that. What you have is a physical token, can even be logical, like PIN, like OTP. Fine. There are OTPs you can generate from the token device if you have one, or the one that is sent to you from an OTP system or server via email or what, or SMS, or through authenticator. The likes of Google and Microsoft Authenticator and the likes. Now, these are that amounts to what you have. Then what you have also includes key fobs, token, smart card, and the likes. But who you are, that's biometric. Your fingerprints, your voice, your retina, iris scan, facial recognition, your face, your hand geometry, your palm, all of these, we call them behavioral attributes of the user of the system. So that's what we call who you are. They are all preventive control tools, which are within the multi-factor authentication family. Detective, like CCTV, smoke detectors, they are all called fire alarm systems or surveillance devices. They can detect an attempted intrusion. We also have in digital form, intrusion detection system, security information and event management system for log capturing, auditory, and the likes. They are what? Detective control system. They are always the likes of auditory, transaction tree, and the likes. They are very useful in the light of audit and investigation. Then we got corrective controls. They always allow the events to occur. Between preventive, detective, and corrective, the best form of control is preventive, and also second as the most expensive of all control measures, because it requires maintenance, regular or frequent maintenance, to remain preventive, to remain effective. You get it. But when it comes to corrective maintenance, please, I want to take you a bit further. I want to take a bit outside this scope of knowledge, still within risk management. I just want push it forward a bit. When is corrective control ideal? There is a concept called risk appetite, residual risk, and risk acceptance, right? For those who have mastered the art of risk management or are into risk assessment, risk management, they now know what they will connect with what I'm saying. Sorry, I'm bringing that in, though this is not absolutely a risk management class. But then an organization's willingness to embark on a course of action in order to actualize a given objective is what we call his risk appetite. His choice of action, his decision. When I mean an organization, I mean the leaders, the decision makers. The choice of action, the decision taking to get a task done, or like, for instance, a project and all of that, is what we call risk appetite, because there's an objective tied to that action, to that decision, right? That's what we call risk appetite. The institution has a risk appetite. Otherwise, it wouldn't do that. So it means your risk appetite must be tied to a given objective. You shouldn't have risk appetites in the absence of a given objective. You are wasteful. No apologies for that. Yes, you are wasteful. We call that inefficiency. Efficiency is doing the right thing. I mean, effectiveness is doing the right thing. Efficiency is doing things right. Your ability to set the right goals and actualize them is effectiveness. Your ability to identify the right set of activities to be carried out and allocate the right resources to those activities so that the right goals can be actualized is what we call efficiency. So if you are wasteful resources, for instance, if you embark on a course of action, resources would follow. You agree now. You can't You can't do anything without using resources. What I mean actions. You can't process anything without using resources. Now in organizational sense. Now, if you carry out actions and there are no clear-cut objectives, you are wasteful, and that makes you inefficient. But should you have the right objective and you know the right, you develop the right strategies to actualize those objectives, we say you are effective. So between an effective manager and an efficient manager, an effective manager is better than an efficient manager because he has an objective in mind to actualize. But an efficient manager might be miser, might be very careful with spending or with allocating resources, not knowing that not allocating resources equivalent to the task will lead to underperformance or not actualization objective. It might appear judicious, but the organization is not moving forward. Right? Okay, I'll keep it at that. I'll leave it at that. Okay, so corrective. I said I was going to take you further. Yes, I'm still in a line. Now, for corrective controls should be in line with your what? Your risk appetite. That's where I'm going. Right? Okay. Or what I'll call, okay, there's this, I was trying to make a point that there's risk appetite, there's residual risk, and there's what I call risk acceptance. In risk management, the ideal bar okay, let me put it this way, in maturity model, sorry, I said I was going to take you a bit out of this scope, but still within risk management. In risk management model, maturity model, the acceptable level in your risk maturity practice or practices is where your risk appetite is equal to your residual risk and equal to your risk acceptance. I'm sorry, I might not be able to teach that. Don't mind me. But that is where you will say, oh, you are at an ideal maturity level, where your risk appetite is equal. Okay, let me put it in the right perspective. To your residual risk. So risk appetite, the action you take to actualize objective should be equal. The action, I'll take that again. The action you take to actualize a given objective should be equal to the consequence of that action. Should it not work? Do we still call it loss, or we can accommodate that loss? Risk acceptance, and must be equal to residual risk. Now, let me bring that into corrective controls. Corrective control should only be a thing of choice when you're at your residual level. And we say risk is at residual level when necessary control measures like preventive and detective measures have been put in place, yet risk remains. So we can now put corrective measures so that what is now left of risk, should it occur, correction will address that. I hope that is not too much for some people in the class. Sorry about that if I messed it up for you. But then that's just the way it is. So now let's look at controls that are manual, controls that are automatic in the light of implementation. Because controls are measures, techniques, and they've got to be implemented. Controls don't exist on paper. Controls can be introduced with paper. What do you mean? Yes. Controls can be introduced with policies, via policies. Yes, I'm correct. Controls can be introduced via guidelines, frameworks. Yes, I'm correct. But then they do not remain there. They've got to be implemented. Now, whatever the control measure can be implemented manually, can be implemented automatically. It can even be a hybrid of both, which is called IT-dependent manual. Now, in manual controls, you, as the individual, as an officer, you will be involved. It is not automated. It is not automatic. You will be involved in the execution or in the implementation, in the initiation of that control. For instance, a manager's quarterly review and sign-off on the employee's access rights or physical observation of security cameras by a human guard. AI is not doing that. It is you that is doing that. That's manual control. But for automated control, these controls are programmed. They are technology driven. Do you get that? Example, a system automatically logs an individual out after 3 failed login attempts, or a server script automatically delete temporary files older than 30 days. So if that file is not in use, or the way the system has been programmed, or if that account has not been opened in the last 30 days, let it be deactivated. That's what we call automated control. It is system driven, it is automated, it is programmed. The system responds to the algorithm of that program or the instruction within the program. Now, in IT dependent manual, controls where human take, or you take an action based on an automated response. That means it's a hybrid of manual and automated control. Do you get it? Okay. Let's say that an ATM machine, someone not good at using it is just, just keep punching some inputs into the machine continuously, and suddenly the machine locks up. You know that card slot? Yes, it can lock itself up. Now, that is automated, but to release it would not require human entering into the compartment and punching some stuff and get the machine returned back to normalcy to start working again. Look at this analogy. System automatically generates a report of all terminated employees whose contract has been terminated, let's put it that way, which a manager must then manually review to ensure all access have been revoked. So if we have employees whose contracts have been terminated and their login have been disabled, we now have a personnel who is vetting that to be sure that it's so. That's a hybrid of manual and automated. Now, let's look at the scope of IT controls, the extent to which IT controls can be implemented. We got ITGC, which is the crux of this training, and we've got ITAC, application controls. Our next free training, that will be in March 2026. Let me just announce that now. Would be IT application control. Yes. Why IT general control, like it sounds, is generic. Application control is technological, it's built into technology. For IT general control, it applies to all and sundry. A good example, if you must access our system, you must have a credential, otherwise you can't log in. If you must access our premises, you must be duly registered and an access card or a visitor's badge given to you, which is programmed to access a particular floor you are heading. Do you get it? That's general control. It is not specific to just a process or an individual. Like back to the case of user credentials. If you must use our system, be you the chairman of the board or the MD of the organization, the chief, the CEO, you must have a login, user account. If you don't have a user account, you can log in. That's general control. Do you get the picture now? We're looking at control, IT control generally. We're not going to take it into general control. We're not there yet. This is just on the surface. I'm going to, I told you at the time I was building a body of knowledge. I'm now going to take you into what they call IT general control. And there's a whole lot of slides on it, on this presentation, so do not worry. Examples of general control is organization-wide change management process. So if anybody is going to initiate a change on the server, it has to go through, even if it's the MD, we know he's the project owner. If he wants to modify the requirements as defined, it still has to go through a change management process. Do you get that? That's what we call IT general control. The overall disaster recovery plan, policy, modification to any of these very critical documentations must go through some laid down approach. And that's what we call IT general control. For application control, they are specific to individual software application or technology or business process within those applications. A good example of an application control, you want to initiate password change, you got to provide OTP. Oh, that's application control. That doesn't apply to all digital processes in the organization, just to password change. Please note, they ensure accuracy, completeness, and authorization of data input. That is for application control. Like I told you a moment ago, that the next round of Mastering Cybersecurity free training is going to be on IT application control. So you do well to attend. Example is input validation. If the data input into a particular field is inaccurate, that application is not going to take it. No, it will notify you. Could that be considered as change request? Yes, Damilola, you are correct. Change request. Yeah, it's got many names. It's got many names. That means change management. Yes, it's got many names. Okay. Let me take a bit out of IT control for now. I'm back again. Why? There's this concept called 3LOD from the Institute of Internal Auditors. This is their brainchild. They came up with this work. Just like OCG, Open Compliance and Ethics Group, gave us the red book on GROC. This beautiful mind give us this concept, 3 lines of defense model. Now, when we say defense, D, we're talking about protection against something. What is that thing? It's called risk. Do you get it? When they came up with this idea, the hallmark or the essence of 3 lines of defense was to address risk. I hope you are getting me. And also, do not forget that risk management is one of the core responsibilities of governance. So they gave us this model and clarified rules and responsibility in the light of defense. Please, I take it again. I hope you get that. Let me take it again. The Institute of Internal Auditors, you can visit their site, THE, that's DIIA.org. I mean, it's an industry-known professional body. It's a certification body. It gave us this model as a defense mechanism, right? Against risk, using governance framework. In this model, they simply clarified roles and responsibilities of personnel across these 3 lines. What they were promoting with these concepts is that risk management should not be at a layer of oversight. Like, let's put it in this sense. Let me take this from what you know to the unknown. You remember that in management, there are 3 layers. There's operational management, there's tactical management, and there's what? In the triangle of management, in the hierarchy, there's strategic management. You recall, right? So it means management is in 3 layers. We both agree, right? Now, in defense or in risk management, to be specific, please do not forget that risk management is an essential part of control. And don't also forget that in that definition of control, I said one of the objectives of control is to identify risk and address it. Okay? So, this work is communicator is promoting is that risk management should not be at a layer of oversight alone. Let risk management and response be across 3 layers or 3 lines of oversight, 3 lines of activities, or 3 operational lines. Because while identifying risk, you will respond to it using control measures. That with this model in place, your risk management will be robust. Do you get the picture? Your risk management structure will be strong. So they went on to say that the 3 lines are: 1, those who own the process, operations, and those who provide specific risk management function to over the processes, and those who vet what those who own the process, those providing risk management function are doing. Please, let me take you back. I hope that is not, okay, don't worry, I'll simplify it. Look at this triangle. First line, operations. Please, an easy way to understand first line of management is operations. For simplicity's sake, customer relations, tellering, or banking operations, including customer relations, fund transfer, tellering. I hope you get it. That's operations. The 3 line of defense models claimed that let risk management or risk identification start from that operational line. Let's not allow or give the whole buck to the risk manager, the compliance manager, the quality control manager, or personnel officer. Let's not give the whole buck to that man. If we do that, risk will not abate. It will just continue to increase. So let's spread risk management oversight across 3 lines. So let the operational personnel handle the aspect of identifying risk. And we can now give them further training to assess it, to determine what its likelihood or impact will be, and even carry initial response, implement initial, what we call first aid response. But if that is beyond their capacity, they can escalate. Now to who? Second line, because that's where we have specialists. So the first line are not specialists, they are operational personnel, but let them have the skill set to identify risk and to some extent respond to it, provide the first aid. If it's beyond their capacity, then escalate to the trained risk management personnel who sits over the second line. So compliance manager or officer, quality control, internal control personnel, risk manager, so that they are within the second line, including cybersecurity and security operations. They are on the second line of defense. But the internal auditor who evaluates the risk management performance of the first line and the control measures there, then the second line is at the third line. So it doesn't respond first. That is why you don't find internal auditors all the time. You don't find them all the time at the production floor. Like you find the production personnel, the operating personnel. I hope you're getting it. That is why you see the internal auditor surfaces once in a while. Do you get the picture? Because he's at the third line. It doesn't have to come to the treasury floor. It doesn't have to come to the production floor all of the time. No, it's not needed. So he provides what? That layer of oversight. by evaluating the effectiveness of the risk management processes and control measures at the first line and at the second line. Then it can now report to senior management or provide guidance to the second and first line of defense. I hope that is clear enough. So the first line of defense own the risk. The second line of defense provide oversight over the risk. And the third line of defense evaluates, assesses, or examines the activities at the first line, the second line, and then report to the echelon. Do you get the picture? Hope that is clear enough. Okay. I think I should call it a day here today to entertain questions. Yes, I'm working within a given time frame. So tomorrow we will go into IT general controls in depth. I hope it's been wonderful. My host is, you can take over from here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, for sure. Please, can we appreciate him? If you can hear me, can you hear me loud and clear? Please let us appreciate him. That was really, really awesome. We thank you so much for explaining in detail on and it has been impactful so far. So right now we are going to go into the question and answer session segment. If you have any question, you can unmute your mic. And as well, you can make use of the chat box. If you have questions, please let's have them. And while we wait for that, if you don't have any question or you have questions still, please let us put in a word. Let us type out how has the day one been for you. Just let's have just one word, in one word. In one word, how has been the day one of this training? How has it been for you? Insightful. That is awesome. If you have questions, please let us have it. If you have questions. We can as well have your questions if you have. Explanatory, yes, explanatory. Thank you very much, Funsho. That was insightful. That was a practical session. We truly appreciate the depth of knowledge you have shared and the clarity you have brought to today's discussion. Your expertise has given us a stronger understanding on how IT controls operates. I know tomorrow also will be an awesome one. If we have questions, please can we have it? You can unmute your mic to ask your questions directly, or if you prefer, you can type your question in the chat box and we'll read it out and attend so that the instructor can attend to it. Let us keep our questions clear and concise so that we can address as many as possible. Yes, I can't wait for tomorrow too, David. Any questions? And if you have any question later, you can keep it it will be addressed in tomorrow's training. If you have any questions or you are able to pick up one or two things later, it will be shared. I have a question for Prosper. It says, please, would we get a slide? So this training might be uploaded later on our YouTube, and that is one of the reasons why you need to follow us on our social media platforms. Yes, it will be uploaded within a time frame. Okay, so Funsho, we have a question for you here from Damilola. She says, to what degree are cybersecurity tech essential to the organizational disaster recovery?
Okay, thank you. Let me answer that quickly. disaster recovery, or what let me put in one in just in a general sense, incident response, today is a critical arm of cybersecurity. Although before cybersecurity came to be what it is today, a lot of institutions as old as, you know what I mean, um, 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 several years old in their tens, if not counting in tens or over 100 years, actually have, a lot of them have what I call incident response as a function. Even for some, is a committee, more like a steering committee handling incident response. But when cybersecurity evolved, I mean the skill set to what it is today, it was absorbed into it. So to say to what degree are cyber techs essential to organizational disaster recovery, it's a core function. Do you get it? It's not just being essential, but it's a core function. Disaster recovery is a critical function of cybersecurity experts today. So whether you're on the offensive, you're on the defensive, although please keep this in mind that incident management is defensive cybersecurity, not offensive. But those in the offensive can assist. Maybe that's where your question is tilting. Those in the offensive, performing the likes of pen testing, vulnerability assessment, threat hunting, and ethical hacking, and the likes, whom we call the red team, by their actions and activities and their findings, can inform the blue team on about their readiness or how to be ready for incidents. So please note for the opting time that incident response or incident management is a critical part of cybersecurity, primarily defensive security, and it is a corrective security measure. I hope that is clear. Thank you. Okay, any other question?
Thank you so much, for sure. Do we have any other question? Okay, can you drop the YouTube? Yes, I have dropped it now. All the various platforms that we have and the handles, it has been shared. Do we have any other question before we wrap it up? We still have 4 minutes. Do you have observations? If there are no in form of questions, do you have observations
Okay.
as well?
Yeah, sorry. Good evening, everyone. Mine is not a
Good
question.
evening, Desmond.
Thank you so much. I just want to deeply appreciate the tutor. I think this is the fourth time I'm joining his class, and I must say that he does a very good job, right? So this is just an appreciation to him for breaking down these seem to be very difficult areas in IT, but he makes it very simple. And even people who do not have prior knowledge of these fields can easily, sink into what he's teaching. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you to the management. Yeah, so that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Desmond. I'm grateful. Thanks for that. And please do not miss tomorrow's class. Tomorrow is the ITGC itself. So everything today we've not gotten into the GC. So please, I encourage everyone, just participate in tomorrow's class. That's where you'll be seeing what makes up the GC. That's the general control. You know, I told you it's an expose. So the exposition itself, we haven't gotten there. That's what we shall be looking at. You now understand the structure. What exactly is ITGC? Okay, you can now use that to analyze any environment and say, this is missing. Oh, This is, or to identify the GC, or to identify the gap in their GC. So let's make it up tomorrow. Tell other people that tomorrow will be wonderful. Thank you.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, David.
Okay. My own contribution is, this is my first time of attending this class, and I'm just short of words, because the explanation is you, even a layman self can even understand every bit of what has been said here, and the way it's being broken down is that's from 7 to 9 o'clock. I think I just achieved something today, seriously, because after stress and everything today, I think I can sleep well this night, because I learned
Thank you,
something.
David.
I learned something wonderful. Kudos to you, sir. You really did a good job, sir. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Seriously, tomorrow. I go drag first to this with them tomorrow morning, tomorrow evening. Thank you so much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, David. Thank you. I'm grateful. Thanks for the compliments. Thanks.
Thank you so much, David. We have another one from Oriyomi. Is he or she said, as an aspiring pen tester, how do the 3 lines of defense help? I think that's what you wanted to write.
Okay, thank you. You'll find that pen testing is offensive security. And from the lines of defense, it is defensive. The 3 lines of defense are operational matters, right? They are in response to risk. But in the light of pen testing, primarily pen testing is on 2 things, 2 key objectives: vulnerability and threats. Though more of vulnerability than threats. And in risk management, okay, take it. Risk management is at the 2nd line of defense, right? My screen has been removed. I wanted to show you that triangle again. Risk management is on the 2nd line of defense. And you, the pen tester, your objective is to identify vulnerabilities. Note that risk has 5 elements. Vulnerability is 1. Threat is 1. So you, as a pen tester, your emphasis is on vulnerability within our system and the threats that can exploit it. That is what a pen tester and an ethical hacker does. Although a pen tester as work is more preferred than an ethical hacker. Sorry, don't let me go into that. Don't let me go into that, right? I would have loved to give you the difference between what they do. But then, why an ethical hacker is more on the offense, more on the attack. The pen tester is looking at identifying the vulnerabilities without necessarily exploiting them. But the ethical hacker is actually launching an attack, right? To exploit those vulnerabilities. So it means you can now be assisting the risk manager, because line 2 of line of defense is risk management. And pen testing is a part of risk management, which is vulnerability and threats. So from your tests, the reports can help the risk manager to develop the right response. I hope you can connect now. From your reports as a pen tester, the risk manager can rely on the reports and develop the ideal response. There are 4 responses to risk. There's mitigation, there's acceptance, there's avoidance. Then the 4th is 2-in-1, transfer or share. So the risk manager can now determine or can now decide on which of these responses are ideal to your finding, to your assessment. Your finding, your assessment reports. Please note that pen testing is an assessment. I hope you're getting me. Pen testing is a form of risk management, though it is offensive, it is technical, but it's a kind of risk management. Threat hunting, vulnerability assessment, ethical hacking, they are all risk management. So should we align you, or capture you directly into the trend line of defense. You're on line 2. Risk management. Is that clear? Okay. I hope I've been able to answer that.
Okay, thank you so much. Oriyomi, has he been able to answer your question? Oh, great. Oh, great. Thank you so much. I think that is all the question we'll be able to take today. We'll continue tomorrow. Before we go, I want to appreciate everyone who contributed during the question and answer session as well. Your engagement and your thoughtful questions added depth to today's training. And for the compliment, we appreciate you. On behalf of SkillToPro Academy, I want to sincerely appreciate every participant for being fully present throughout day one of the Mastering Cybersecurity IT Controls training. Your active participation shows that your commitment to continuous professional development. And before we go, a quick reminder that this is a 2-day training and attendance for tomorrow is very important. Completing both days is required to qualify for the free certificates of participation. And there's a token you can pay if you want a CPE of 10 points to be inscribed on your certificate. It comes at a token. If you want that, you can reach out to us via the email or the WhatsApp. We encourage you to make tomorrow's session a priority as well, as we'll be wrapping up tomorrow, so you can gain the full value of this program. Before we close, I would like to briefly highlight some of the opportunities available to you at SkillToPro Academy. We offer structured and career-focused programs across various courses, such as governance, risk and compliance, data privacy and protection, and security operations, amongst others. These pathways include analyst and specialist tracks designed to help you to build strong and industry-ready skills. We also provided free cybersecurity training sessions on our YouTube channel. The last one we had was in August, and we'll be having it quarterly. So one of the reasons you need to follow us on our social media platform. And it is with open access, free for you to access till December 31st. So if you're interested in getting a certificate, you'll be assessed. You watch all the classes. It's on our YouTube channel, and you'll be awarded the certificate after you're being assessed. You can reach out to us as well for further details. Kindly note that this free course for the Mastering Cybersecurity Essentials will be available until December 31st, 2025. You are encouraged to explore these resources to deepen your learning. In addition, we also prepare professionals for globally recognized certifications such as CISA, CISM, and other advanced IT and cybersecurity examinations. Our training approach is practical, as you can see a tip of it today. It is exam focused and it is tailored to real world application, not just theoretical. And finally, kindly follow us at SkillToPro Academy across all our social media platforms as displayed on the screen to stay updated on upcoming trainings, career sessions, free classes, and important announcements. We also share updates as the need arises. Staying connected will ensure you do not miss out on new opportunities. Thank you once again for joining us today. We look forward to having you back for day 2. Enjoy the rest of your day.